Coming into the 2025 NBA Finals, I feel like we were in a new era for the NBA where offensive schemes mattered a lot, roster construction mattered a lot, coaching mattered a lot, superstar factor mattered a lot coming into this coming season. After the previous NBA champs, Boston Celtics, showed the formula of how to win a championship. And that's been evolving throughout the years, as you see with the Golden State Warriors constructed roster, or even back when Milwaukee first won a ring. It was first shown then up to till now with the Boston Celtics with how you build a championship roster with having a point guard who can play make or just someone who can play make on your roster, three wings that can just defend and catch and shoot, and a big man that can also defend in the post and or just have a superstar factor such as a Nikola Jokic. And coming into this year, the league was super wide open. Multiple teams can win a championship. I picked Dallas and OKC to probably come out of the West, and for the East, I picked the Celtics and the Cavs. How I was partially right on the Western Conference side of things, I can't say the same for the Eastern Conference, where the Indiana Pacers blew expectations over the roof, even though they were the previous Eastern Conference Finals appearances back then last year. They blew expectations. Coming back as a fourth seed to the NBA Finals on the road, the path that they got through is very impressive, and it's not really being discussed about enough. And I even discussed how in my post game coverage of Game 3 and Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Now look at it now. Should it really be a surprise that the Pacers are in the NBA Finals? I wouldn't say so. Anyways, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the MC channel. We're going to do a preview play discussion of what's going to happen in the NBA Finals and who I going to decide to pick the series. Now, I try to look through film. I really did try to look at film to determine who I would think would win the series, who I think would probably be sorry, scrap that out. I try to look at film. This Pacers team is very different from how they were back around January, I could say. But, they figured it out. This game, obviously, the last game they played each other, OKC won 132 to 111 from Indiana. And defense, obviously. Defense is the main issue back then with this Pacers team. However, they have corrected that. And then some. Their play style is one of the better play styles out there in the Eastern Conference. I feel like matchup-wise, this is probably the OKC's worst matchup coming into the finals. Obviously, there was a big dogs in Cleveland and Boston, but I felt like matchup-wise, I feel like they have the right matchups to put on those defenders, put on those guys, especially with Cleveland, man. And in Boston, obviously, their play style, we saw how they flamed out in the second round, but that's for another discussion video. But this Pacers team plays a very dynamic play style that I even said that it was a very high variance play style back then. I think last year. I'm not sure if I agree with that because I feel like everybody really eats in this offense. Pascal Siakam is one of the best players out there in the league for sure, and he's one of the more underrated players in the league out there, and he's showcasing that he's really like that this coming playoffs. And Tyrese Halliburton, as much shit as he got back then around last year, he is showcasing that he's obviously one of the best players in the league, one of the best point guards in the league, period. And his play style can really transcend in what point guards can do in the NBA, because I think coming into just a regular season and you have a point guard that averages over 10 plus assists, I just don't think that play style gets you to win championships. The only two players I think have done that in NBA history was Magic Johnson and LeBron James. And Magic has done this multiple times. That's why I consider him to be the best point guard of all time, the best playmaker of all time, the best passer of all time. That's why I think that Magic has that over Steph. Steph is one of my favorite players of all time. I just think Magic is the better player. And LeBron, and yeah, it was one season, but even you could say that playoff run, he didn't average 10 assists, even though he averaged 10 assists in the regular season. But yeah, I'll say those two players have done that. And Tyrese Halliburton is kind of in the same ballpark as well. I don't think he averaged 10 assists this season at all. No, he averaged 9.2 assists. But for his career averages, I could say career stats. Tyrese Halliburton's career stats. I'm gonna pull up Basketball Reference real quickly. Averages 8.8 assists. Last few regular seasons, 10.9 assists, 10.4 assists. Yeah, and just a significant down. I'm not really that big of a dip, but still a slightly big dip for a guy like Tyrese. And over the playoffs, he's averaging 9.8 assists, so that rounds up to 10 assists, and that's leading to them making the NBA Finals. Really impressive. He had some of his best games out there this entire playoff run, and I've been really impressed with how he's been playing consistently with how the start of the season went, where he was borderline bad for Tyrese Halliburton's standpoint. He wasn't that bad, but he obviously played so much better to end out the season that he deservedly so deserved to make all NBA third team. And as you can see from Tyrese's playoff stats, averaging 19 points per game, obviously 10 assists, 9.8 assists. That's what I meant. 5.4 rebounds. He's shooting 33% from three, but that's just the no negotiation of how the postseason goes. I mean, you could be a bad 3-point shooter, you could be a good 3-point shooter, and that obviously accumulates to a whole 58% true shooting, which is actually above league average. So, very impressive stats for him. Obviously, he shot more efficient last year, but as the later playoffs go on, you play better teams, and obviously that stuff is gonna happen. But when the moments show, Tyrese Halliburton's been playing well. And Pascal Siakam, who I think deserves way more praise, man. He has really grown to a player that I've honestly started to appreciate more as time goes on. Obviously, back in Toronto, he was fun to watch. But obviously, I think that 1 year where after Kawhi left, I was very hesitant to see where I really put him as a player because of his play style. And I just did not think he was that great for one of those guys out there in the league. I thought he was kind of overrated back then. But I feel like over case throughout the entire years, Pascal Siakam is one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. At least from my perspective and what I've seen, I think he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league. He's shooting 57% from mid-range and around let's see about shooting splits. Yep. Yes. Field goal percentage by distance. 2-point percentage. He's shooting 57% from mid-range, 54% by 3 to 10 feet, 41% from 10 to 16 feet, 35%. Obviously, that's basically right slightly above the 3-point line, but 16 to 3-point line, obviously not that great, but that's just very limited sample. And obviously from three, he's shooting 39% from three. Very impressive numbers for Pascal, man. And he is completely blew an expectation. I mean, he's shooting 50% from 10 to 16 feet. That's all you can ask for a mid-range guy. Although I would rather have that you transition that to 3-point percentage, which he has been doing, because he's shooting 47% from three this postseason. All you can ask for, man. All you can ask for a guy like that. I think he is really underrated. And I'm sorry I'm not talking about OKC enough this video, but I really want to discuss how Indiana can actually beat this team, because I'll get it out of the way. Obviously, OKC is the favorite to win the series. I think they have been. I think any team that played in the Eastern Conference, maybe outside of the Boston Celtics, I feel like OKC would be the favorite to win the series. And Indiana, I just feel like Indiana has such a unique play style that I don't really think OKC is going to blow them out of the water. Now, obviously, in the previous years, I've picked the underdog to win the NBA Finals. And obviously, bad decisions. I feel like I've been on a slump the past 2 years in terms of who I decided to pick in a champion, because before then, I feel like I got a streak of going on. I picked Golden State in 2022. I picked Milwaukee in 2021. I picked the Lakers in 2020. I picked the Raptors in 2019, even before KD's injury. I picked Toronto to win. 2018, 2017, I obviously picked Golden State. 2016, yeah, like I say, it's the first time ever. I said 2023, I picked Miami. I felt like there was a little bit of bias towards it. I didn't really realize how dominant Denver was all playoff run. 2024, I picked Dallas because I felt like Dallas's play style to get over big defensive teams, except that Boston's one of the best offensive teams this league has ever seen. And I think like this year, OKC is one of the greatest, if not the greatest defensive team with the best net rating in NBA history. That's rivaling the 96 Bulls and the 2016 Golden State Warriors. That type of record right there. But Indiana is not a team to sleep on. They took down a 60-plus win Cavs team in 5 games. They outplayed the New York Knicks in the conference finals. Obviously, they took down Giannis. Dame's injury happened in Game 4, even though they were still going to blow out the Milwaukee Bucks. And look at it now, man. Look at it now. And this Pacers team has showcased that they don't need their star players to go off to win games. They just shown that. I can look at, I think it was Game 2 in New York. Where, oh, never mind, not Game 2. Game 1 in New York. Where, I'm going to pull up his numbers real quickly. Yes, Game 1 in New York. Or Game 2. Game 2 in New York, Tyrese Halliburton did not have a good game at all. Did not have a good game at all. -2 from the 4. And they still won that game. Outplaying coaching-wise. Rick Carlisle is actually a really good coach. I'm going to pull up Game 2 stats. Game 1 stats. Knicks versus Pacers. Game 1 stats. It's going to be really hard to cut out, but it will do, man. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton had a great game, but Pascal Siakam, not his best game out there. But that was because guys like Aaron Nesmith came off and dropped 30 points. He turned into Reggie Miller in the fourth quarter. I'm not even kidding. He turned into that. All overall balanced scoring effort from this Indiana Pacers team. However, they're going up against by far the best defensive team that they've seen, this core has ever seen yet. I think it is. And that's scary. I mean, obviously the OKC Thunder, the big guys like Lou Dort. Obviously, J-Dub's proved to be one of the best defenders in the league. He made all defensive second team. Chet Holmgren, obviously, big presence in the paint. Isaiah Hartenstein just being a paint presence as a whole there. SGA even being a really good defender. But you guys got guys off the bench like Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso, who are really, really scary. And that's what guys you want on your team to win a championship. That Swiss Army knife feature on the defensive end. Guys are just really scrappy on the floor, just really making big hustle plays out there. Doing their job of making hustle plays and just catching and shooting the ball. And transition points is really scary. I think OKC is averaging off of turnovers. I think OKC is averaging a lot of points off turnovers. 11.7 points off turnovers in the playoffs. Yeah, they average around 12 points per game off turnovers. And how many turnovers does OKC force? Because they force. OKC forces their opponent's turnovers to 17.2 turnovers. And obviously it's the regular season, but still, you got guys out there that are just big hustle players out there that are really going to force turnovers on you. That's saying, how many turnovers does Indiana have? Because I know it shouldn't be that much. The Pacers box score team sets 13 turnovers. So roughly what I predicted, I said around like 11 to 15 turnovers, but roughly what I had averaged. But obviously what's really big is how they really improved defensively. And when I think of matchup wise for this playoff series or this final series, I really tried to think who's gonna match up with who. Obviously Aaron Nesmith is actually dealing with an ankle injury, and we'll see how he plays his first game. I have to really get a rough estimate to what's gonna happen, so I don't really know who's gonna guard. I think they're gonna put Nembhard on Shea, but I think they should actually consider putting Nesmith on him because obviously Shea's a really big dude. He's a really, really damn big dude. And, no, he obviously plays bigger than his size. So, like, you just want a bigger defender on him as a whole. But you also don't want that guy to get in foul trouble, especially with how many fouls that Indiana actually forces. They foul a lot, which is obviously a con on their side. But also, like, yeah, just put I would put Neesmith on him, maybe even Pascal on him. But I mean, they're probably gonna put Nemhard in him. But I don't think that's probably the right matchup. And then J-Dub, I think J-Dub got the Pascal matchup when the last played each other. And J-Dub did not play. Did he play good? J-Dub, that game. Yeah. Oh, 18 points. I think it was the first game when they played. He not played good. That was the first game. J-Dub put up a stanker. What's obviously big about this is that Chet Holmgren was obviously not playing these two matchups against Indiana in the regular season. And that's obviously a notion that you can't really judge what's going to happen in the regular season into the postseason. I've been wrong about that over the past few playoff series, especially with this Indiana team. However, it's obviously the 2025 Indiana Pacers playoffs. And they have just been able to just prove me wrong multiple times. Like, I did not think they're going to beat Cleveland. I knew they're going to be New York, but I didn't think they're going to beat Cleveland. And the way they did was, and the convincing way they did, proved me wrong, blew me off the charts. But, yeah, I think that J-Dub probably will get the Pascal matchup. I will consider that. Maybe they might just throw the other two defender on J-Dub as a whole. Obviously, Chet's going to get the Pascal matchup. Now, Chet is a lot bigger than his sizes. I think he's just proved me wrong. I mean, he looks super scrawny on the court, but he's actually playing way bigger than I thought. Like, he's actually a lot stronger than I thought. Obviously, Hartenstein will get the Miles Turner matchup. Now, Miles Turner is obviously a guy that I'm not sure if he's going to get a lot of minutes this playoff series. Where Miles Turner, obviously, he's very good. Like, he's a really damn good player, but he was getting played off the floor multiple times in the Knicks series. And with the Thunder's two front court players playing with each other, that gives you a concern with how much he fouls, how much he might the switch matchup, he may not step in, like he might be, might go off the screen, but he might. I'm very concerned about how much he will play this playoff series for sure. Now, in terms of OKC defending Indiana, obviously this is probably the best. I mean, Denver was really tough. As well, but Indiana, I think Indiana has just been the better playoff team this playoff run. And let's start off with just the Tyrese Haliburton matchup. Now, Tyrese, I feel like he struggles more with a smaller guard than a big guy. If he gets a big guy, he is gonna blow by you really fast because the brother is really fast, and he will just make a crossover and blow by the defender and get to the basket with ease multiple times. But if you just want to keep it on the perimeter, where he's not the most efficient at, but he's still capable of making shots at, I think obviously the Lou Dort matchup makes sense. I think that as well, but they should obviously consider actually putting J-Dub on him as well. But even Shea could also try to guard him at times, but you obviously want to conserve Shea's energy on the offensive end, obviously. So I guess Lou Dort makes sense on him. With Pascal, again, Chet Holmgren is there to defend him. You can even put Chet on Miles Turner, and make Isaiah or just one of the two to get Chet or Isaiah to roam in the paint as well. Just like stop from Tyrese Haliburton freaks, but even he could still score on the defender in the post, in the paint. So that's obviously a scary sign to see as well. But and then obviously Neesmith and Nemhard, and then guys off the bench like TJ McConnell, Bennett Mathurin. Who else is off the bench for this team that actually plays consistent minutes? Obi Toppin, obviously. Obi Toppin's really big as well. But just very different variety matchups from this playoff series, which makes me super excited to see. I can't really judge who's guarding who until I actually watch the game one footage, because two drastically different teams going at it in the postseason. And that leads me to my final prediction, where it's tough. It is very tough to see. I think this is going to be going down as one of the best matchups this postseason in the finals since around 2021. I think it has a big chance to rival that. Now, I've said this about last year. I said this about 2023. And I was completely wrong. I was really stupid to take those decisions. I think 2023 is underrated because the basketball on the floor was actually really good. But obviously the media, how to discuss it, really tanks the series as a whole because they really just degraded the series. And obviously last year, I don't think last year was actually good at all. But this series, again, it's the same issue where the basketball is actually really good, where it's a top defensive team going up against the top offensive team going into the postseason, going into the finals. No discussion about that. I see discussions about other things going out there outside of the basketball on the floor from the media. Not enough discussion. And it mainly has to do with just marketing wise, where we're not used to having two small market teams go at each other in the finals, let alone having two branded name superstars out there. I saw a post earlier today that was compared this OKC Thunder team to the 2015 Warriors. And what do you know? The least surprising thing I ever heard in my life. People are falling for nostalgia bait. It's that similar. They're very similar in terms of a first-time MVP on the team that is boring the best player in the league. All-star, first-time All-star on the team as well, who deservedly so deserved to be an All-Star, an All-NBA player, and a really big defensive anchor presence who I think is the second best player on the team, which is Draymond Green and Chet Holmgren. I think Draymond is a little bit better than Chet because I think Dre can just, the playmaking was just really big from Dre. But you still have those similarities. Bench-wise, very similar. Young coach, very similar. Very similar aspects. I even think this OKC team is a little bit better because of the defensive and the net rate. I just think they're a little bit better than the 2015 Warriors. But again, people just fall for nostalgia because of obviously the names of Steph Curry and LeBron James, and that's okay. People are allowed to fall for nostalgia. I just don't think you can just say it's disrespectful because it's not really disrespectful at all. I just think it's just nostalgia bait. There's a right to compare. It's very similar. Again, this Golden State team, although they were really good, did not break out to be this championship contending team until 2015. This OKC team not blow up to be this really good championship team until the previous year. So they had their experience of going to being the first seed last year, but losing to Dallas, who obviously eventually went on to be the Western Conference Finals champs, into this year where they just completely dominated all regular season, going into the playoffs, beat Memphis in 4 games, obviously took Denver to 7 games, and beat the Timberwolves, who beat the Golden State Warriors and the Lakers in 5 games. Look at it now, not enough discussion. In Indiana, I think it's just majority Knicks fans hating because they're Knicks fans. They're ungrateful Knicks fans, man. And I'm not. I just hate Knicks fans. I think they're just super corny as a whole. I would never be a Knicks fan in my life. But then again, obviously, nobody's likable. There's obviously gonna be their haters out there. That's just the notion. That's just the notion of sports. There's always gonna be haters out there. But you can't just say that this series is just gonna be the worst of all time because of the names. You can't just say that. You really have to look on the basketball court basis. And I've seen that people say that on their shows that this is going to be not talked about enough, but they're obviously super hypocritical because they're the ones that obviously said that this is going to be the least watched final series of all time because the Knicks are not there, or the Celtics are not there, or the Lakers are not there, or even just the big names such as Steph Curry's or LeBron's or whatever. And I think it's just time to put that in the past where guys around them are not only just more talented nowadays, but just on better teams. And those teams are better than teams like the Lakers and Warriors right now. So it's time to put those in the past and move on. It's that simple, man. And OKC is proven to be one of the best teams of all time. Indiana is one of the most dynamic offensive teams of all time. Like, the stats say that. And now you can say, oh, you don't know what was like that back then in my era or stuff like that. Things of that nature. So, but, that's okay, man. It's kind of my last time addressing this because I have learned to the decision to just accept that we're in a new era of basketball. I just think that. I'm sorry, Steph Curry is one of my favorite players of all time. I like him more than other players in the league. Same with Russ. But I've ultimately learned to accept that there are players around them that are obviously not American. You want the American face of the league to be there in the league. But also, you have to accept that these guys are just more talented and just better than Steph and LeBron and KD, and we have to move on. Those guys are still legends. Those three are still top 10 players. I would obviously debate if KD and LeBron are top 10 still. Even Steph, I'll debate those three if they're top 10 still. But they're obviously still three superstar players in the league. It's just that there's guys around them that are just better players, man. And that's okay, man. I mean, the league is just growing so much. And people obviously want an American face of the league. The best American player I could think of is Jason Tatum. And Tatum's going to be out next year. And you have guys around him who, obviously Jokic, obviously Giannis, obviously Shea, Luka, Wemby's getting up there in the league, who are all like really dominant superstar level players that are just growing to be better players, but just not getting discussed enough because they're not American. And that's really stupid. I think it's really stupid. But yeah. Ultimately, the NBA Finals is here. Who I'd have to pick the series? I'm gonna pick OKC. I'm gonna use my brain this time. Not gonna use my heart. I'm gonna use my brain this time, and it will be around 6 games, bordering 5, nearing 5 than 7. But I think it will be a 6-game series, and OKC will be the champs. If I am wrong, all right, I'm gonna say this: if I am wrong, I am not upset at the most. I would be actually super happy because first off, we would have one of the best series out there because it's a big upset out there. Number 2, this Pacers team has really grown on me throughout this entire postseason run. I would like to see them win a championship more than OKC. And 3, OKC will have their chances out there in the future. Indiana obviously is going to be there, but I feel like OKC's window is just much bigger in the grand scheme of aspect. I just think OKC has a chance to be a dynasty over this Pacers team. But it'll just be great for a storybook purpose to see this Indiana Pacers actually win a championship. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. And this was long as hell, so I got to edit this video before Game 1 of the Finals comes out. And then we're going to have post-game coverage of every NBA Finals game. And I will do post-game coverage because it's very easy because it's not every other day or every day. It's literally 2-day breaks. So I could work literally one day and then just go watch basketball, record it, and then sleep in the next day. So that easy. So thank goodness it's that. Don't complain, don't be a bitch out there because this is actually going to be a good final series. Just appreciate that we're getting basketball still. Great basketball still. It's not like bad basketball to watch like haters out there say. These are really good basketball teams going at it in the finals. All right? These are 2 teams at home court advantage in the first round, going at it in the finals. It'll be big. Be really big. But, yeah, I have OKC winning in 6 games. But anything can happen in the NBA. Anything can happen. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys later tonight. We out.